Tropical Cyclone Luana has made landfall on the Northern Territory coast. Another tropical low is developing off Queensland. And if you across the top end or far north Queensland, the next week is going to be active. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, cross-referencing multiple weather models and tracking these systems as they develop. What we're seeing is a classic monsoon trough pattern, but with some interesting complications that are worth paying close attention to. Let us start with where we are right now, because conditions across northern Australia are already showing the signature of these systems. Darwin and the top end have been dealing with the approach of Cyclone Luana all day. The system intensified rapidly over the Timor Sea, reaching Category 2 status before making landfall near the Tiwi Islands. Wind gusts up to 110 kilometres per hour, heavy rainfall, storm surge along exposed coastlines. Indonesia copped the early impacts yesterday and overnight. Strong winds, heavy rain pushing through. That same moisture-laden air mass has now rotated into our region. Across far north Queensland, from Cairns right up to Cape York, conditions have been hot and humid all week. Cairns hit 35 degrees yesterday with 90% humidity. Uncomfortable doesn't begin to describe it. Those gusty winds in the rain people have been experiencing, that's the outer influence of the monsoon trough becoming more active. Further south in Brisbane and southeast Queensland, it's been a scorcher. Temperatures in the mid-30s, humidity making it feel even worse. That warm, unstable air mass is significant because it is part of the broader pattern that is feeding these tropical systems. Now, before we go further, let us talk about what we're actually dealing with here. Two separate systems, different timelines, different impacts. It is important not to confuse them. System 1 is Tropical Cyclone Luana. This system formed in the Timor Sea, rapidly intensified and has now made landfall on the Northern Territory coast near the Tiwi Islands as a Category 2 cyclone. The good news is that Luana is expected to weaken quickly as it moves inland. Cyclones need warm ocean water to maintain their strength. Once they hit land, they start to fall apart. But that doesn't mean Luana is finished causing problems. As it weakens and moves south, it's going to dump significant rainfall across the top end and into the interior. We are talking widespread falls of 100 to 200 millimetres. Some areas could see more than that in localised heavy bursts. For those in the Katherine region and down through the Barkly tablelands, this rain is coming your way over the weekend and early next week. After months of dry conditions through the latter part of the dry season, this is going to be a shock to the system. Flash flooding is possible, particularly in areas that haven't seen decent rain in a while. The ground is hard, doesn't absorb water well initially, and that means runoff. System 2 is a developing tropical low off the Queensland coast. This one hasn't formed yet, but the ingredients are lining up. The monsoon trough is active across the Coral Sea. Sea surface temperatures are well above 27 degrees Celsius. Wind shear is low. Upper level divergence is favourable. According to the Bureau of Meteorology, there is a moderate to high chance of this low developing into a tropical cyclone by early next week. If it does develop, current modelling suggests it would form somewhere between Cairns and Townsville, then track in a general southerly to southwesterly direction. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This system has not formed yet. We're in the forecast stage. Models are showing different scenarios. Some have it developing into a significant cyclone. Others have it remaining a weak low that produces rain, but nothing particularly severe. The uncertainty at this stage is normal. We're looking at a potential system 5 to 7 days out. What we can say with confidence is that regardless of whether this becomes a named cyclone or remains a tropical low, the Queensland coast from Cooktown down to the Sunshine Coast is going to see increased rainfall, stronger winds and rough seas from Tuesday onwards. Let's dig into the meteorology a bit, because understanding why these systems are forming helps make sense of what is coming. The monsoon trough is the key player here. During the Australian summer, the monsoon trough sits across northern Australia, separating the hot, dry continental air mass to the south from the warm, moist tropical air to the north. It's not a stationary feature. It moves, it intensifies, it weakens. Right now it is in an active phase. When the monsoon trough is active, we see multiple things happening simultaneously. Widespread thunderstorm activity, heavy rainfall across the top end, and critically low pressure systems forming within the trough. These lows can develop into tropical cyclones if conditions are right. Cyclone Luana formed in exactly this way. A low pressure system developed in the Timor Sea, embedded in the monsoon trough. Warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, and good upper level outflow allowed it to rapidly intensify. Within 24 hours, it went from a weak tropical low to a Category 2 cyclone. That fast development, but not unusual during an active monsoon period. The Queensland low is following a similar pattern, but it's a few days behind. The monsoon trough extends from the Northern Territory right across to the Coral Sea. A low pressure system is expected to develop in that eastern section of the trough, roughly between Cairns and Townsville, sometime over the weekend or early next week. I've been comparing the latest model runs from Access, the European model, and GFS. There's reasonable agreement that a low will form. Where they differ is in the intensity and track. Access, the Bureau S model, has the low developing into a Category 1 or 2 cyclone by Tuesday, then tracking southwest towards the coast. It makes a potential landfall somewhere between Townsville and Mackay around Wednesday or Thursday. The European model is less aggressive. It develops a tropical low but keeps it below cyclone strength. Track is similar, southwesterly, but the system remains offshore longer before weakening. GFS sits somewhere in the middle. Cyclone development, but weaker than Access suggests, with a track that takes it close to the coast without a direct landfall. What does this tell us? There is genuine uncertainty about the exact intensity and path. But all models agree on one thing: increased weather activity across the Queensland coast next week. Rain, wind, rough seas. Whether it S from a weak tropical low or a stronger cyclone, the impacts are coming. For those in far north Queensland, this means you need to start preparing now, not panicking. Preparing. If you're in Cairns, Port Douglas, Innisfail, that whole stretch of coast, you know the drill. You've been through cyclones before: Cyclone Yasi in 2011, Cyclone Larry in 2006. This one to reach those levels, but it's worth taking seriously. Secure loose items around the property. Outdoor furniture, trampolines, garden tools. Anything that can become a projectile in strong winds needs to be tied down or brought inside. Check your emergency kit. Batteries, torches, first aid supplies, enough food and water for 3 days minimum. Fill the car with fuel before the system arrives. If the power goes out and the pumps don't work, you'll be glad you did. For those with boats, get them secured or move to safe anchorage. Seas are going to be rough, wind-driven swells, heavy rain reducing visibility. This is not the week to be out on the water. Townsville and Mackay, you are in the potential impact zone as well. The track is uncertain, but models are consistently showing this system moving into your region midweek. Same preparation applies. Better to be ready and have nothing happen than be caught unprepared. Brisbane and southeast Queensland, you are not in the cyclone risk zone, but you are going to see increased rainfall from the outer bands of whatever system develops. Heavy showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds. It won to be the main event, but it'll be enough to notice. Now let's talk about the rainfall, because that S going to be the most widespread impact from both systems. Across the Northern Territory, Luana is already producing heavy rain as it moves inland. Catherine can expect 100 to 150 millimetres over the next 48 hours. The Barkly region, similar totals. That rain extends south and east as the remnants of the system track inland. For context, Catherine averages about 900 millimetres of rain per year, with most of that falling during the wet season from November to April. Getting 150 mils in a couple of days is significant, but it's not unprecedented for this time of year. The risk is flash flooding in creeks and rivers that are dry right now. Across Queensland, the rainfall timeline is more extended. Starting Tuesday, showers and storms increase along the coast from Cooktown down to the Whitsundays. By Wednesday and Thursday, if the tropical low or cyclone is close to the coast, we could see widespread falls of 100 to 300 millimetres across a broad area. Localised totals could be higher. When you get a slow-moving tropical system near the coast, it can sit and dump rain for hours. hours. Some areas could see 500 millimetres over a few days. That S flood-producing rainfall. Townsville, you remember the 2019 floods, record rainfall, the Ross River Dam overflowed, homes inundated. This system has the potential to produce similar rainfall totals if it stalls near the coast. I am not saying it will, but the risk is there. For farmers and graziers across North Queensland, this rain is a mixed blessing. After a dry start to the wet season in some areas, the moisture is needed, but too much too fast creates problems. Stock getting bogged. Access roads cut, flooding in low-lying paddocks. Check your stock. Make sure they have access to high ground if flooding occurs. Clear drains and culverts now before the heavy rain arrives. Once it starts, it's too late. Wind is the other major concern, particularly if the Queensland system develops into a tropical cyclone. A Category 1 cyclone has winds up to 125 kilometres per hour. A Category 2 up to 170 kilometres per hour. Those wind speeds are enough to cause structural damage to buildings, bring down trees and power lines, and make driving dangerous. If you in an older Queenslander-style home, you know they rebuilt to handle cyclonic winds, but they not invincible. Check your roof. Make sure tiles are secure. Trim overhanging branches. Close and secure all windows and doors. Caravans are particularly vulnerable. If you are in a caravan park anywhere from Cairns to Mackay and a cyclone warning is issued, relocate to solid shelter. Caravans can roll in strong winds. It's not worth the risk. Coastal areas need to watch for storm surge. When a cyclone approaches the coast, it pushes water ahead of it. Combined with high tides, this can cause coastal flooding. Low-lying coastal areas from Cairns to Mackay should monitor tide times and be prepared for higher than normal water levels. The Bureau of Meteorology will issue specific warnings if storm surge becomes a significant risk. Pay attention to those warnings. They rebased on the best available modelling of the system S, track and intensity. Now, there is another aspect to this pattern that is worth discussing. The broader climate context. We currently in a neutral phase regarding El Niño and La Niña, not strongly one way or the other. But the monsoon trough is active, sea surface temperatures across the Coral Sea and Timor Sea are above average, and the Madden-Julian oscillation is in a phase that favours tropical cyclone development in our region. What this means in practical terms is that we in a favourable period for multiple tropical systems to form. Luana might be weakening and the Queensland low might be just developing, but there is potential for more systems after this. The next few weeks through early February could remain active. That doesn't mean constant cyclones. It means the conditions are ripe for development and we need to stay alert. For those asking about longer-term patterns, whether this signals a particularly active cyclone season, it's too early to say definitively. We are only in late January. Cyclone season runs through to April. Historically, February and March are the peak months for severe cyclones in our region. Cyclone Tracy hit Darwin on Christmas Eve 1974. Cyclone Yasi was in February 2011. Cyclone Larry, March 2006. The point is we re-entering the peak risk period and this current activity is consistent with that. Right, let's bring this together with specific timelines and what you need to be watching for. Today and tonight, Northern Territory Luana continues to weaken as it moves inland. Heavy rain spreads across the top end and Katherine region. Wind gusts easing but still strong enough to bring down trees. Isolated power outages possible. Saturday through Monday, rain from Luana S remnants spreads across the interior. The Barkly Tablelands, Western Queensland, even parts of northern South Australia could see showers and storms from the moisture associated with this system. Sunday and Monday, the monsoon trough remains active across the Coral Sea. Watch for the development of the tropical low. The Bureau will issue updates every 6 hours. If the low shows signs of developing into a tropical cyclone, they'll issue a tropical cyclone watch, meaning cyclone impacts are possible within 48 hours. Tuesday and Wednesday, if the system develops as models suggest, it moves closer to the Queensland coast. Coastal areas from Cairns to Mackay need to be prepared for gale force winds, heavy rain and rough seas. Even if it doesn't develop into a cyclone, impacts will still occur. Thursday and Friday, the system likely makes landfall or moves very close to the coast, then weakens as it interacts with land. Rainfall becomes the primary concern as the system slows or stalls. What should you be monitoring over the next few days? First, the Bureau of Meteorology website. They update their tropical cyclone information every 6 hours, more frequently if a system is developing rapidly. The information is clear, data-driven and doesn't sensationalise. Second, local emergency services. Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, SES, your local council. They'll provide region-specific advice if warnings are issued. Third, weather radar. The Bureau's radar network covers the Queensland coast. You can watch systems approaching in real time. It is a useful tool for timing when heavy rain or strong winds will arrive in your specific area. Daintree relies solely on social media for information. There is a lot of speculation, outdated information and sometimes outright misinformation circulating during severe weather events. Stick to official sources. For those further south in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, you are not directly impacted by these tropical systems, but you will notice changes in your weather as well. The moisture from these systems eventually gets swept up by the mid-latitude weather patterns. By next weekend, increased cloud and showers are likely across the eastern states as tropical moisture interacts with a cold front moving up from the south. It's not cyclone-related impacts, but it is connected to the same broader pattern. The atmosphere doesn't work in isolation. What happens in the tropics influences what happens further south. Before I wrap up, a word about staying safe and keeping perspective. Tropical cyclones are serious weather events. They cause damage. They disrupt lives. They can be dangerous if you're not prepared. But panic doesn't help anyone. UV dealt with cyclones before if you live in North Queensland or the top end. You know what to do. Prepare calmly, follow official advice. Check on your neighbours, particularly elderly folks or anyone who might need assistance. Make sure mates in remote areas are aware of what is coming. If an evacuation order is issued, follow it. The authorities don't issue those lightly. They rebased on genuine risk to life and property. And remember, weather models are tools, not crystal balls. The forecast will be refined as we get closer to the event. A system that looks significant today might weaken. A track that shows landfall at Townsville might shift north or south. Stay updated. For those in areas not directly impacted, this is still worth following. It's a good reminder of the power of our weather, the importance of preparation, and the value of understanding the science behind these systems. I'll be monitoring this situation closely and will provide updates as the pattern develops. The Bureau of Meteorology will have the most current information, and I encourage everyone in the potential impact zones to check their updates regularly. Stay safe, be prepared, don't panic, and look after each other. That's what gets us through these events. The tropics are active, the monsoon is doing what it does, and for the next week or so, Northern Australia is going to see significant weather. Respect it, prepare for it, but don't let it overwhelm you.